ni God, Dakwadoa Kara Callan Watts. Hello, everyone. This is Kara Callan Watts with Cherokee 411. And we're here today with Brian Jackson, who I have known since I think I could walk or something, because we're not going to say how much older he is than me, but he's a little bit older than me. And we both grew up in Seminole, Oklahoma. And who knew we would return to the tribe to serve and be out in the communities working and on this interview so many decades later, Brian. I mean, I turned 51 a couple of weeks ago, but I'm not going to, you can give your age if you want. I can't believe I turned 51. So, and you're older than me, and we've been going at this a really long time. So I was glad you said yes and you wanted to do this today. And you also wanted to be a regular correspondent for Cherokee 411. But let's
Yeah.
talk about you, Brian. Here's the questions I have so you can introduce yourself to the Cherokee 411 folks.
Okay.
Who are you as a Cherokee? Who are your parents, grandparents, and Dawes enrollees? Where did you grow up? Where do you live now? Tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm proud to say I'm 60. I earned it, so I claim it. I did grow up in Seminole. I moved to Tahlequah as a single parent back in 05, 2005.
Okay.
And my dad was Seminole and Cherokee, Seminole and Creek, so we lived in Seminole. That's where his family was from. So I knew a
Okay.
lot more of my Seminole family than I did anything else. But we would come up to, my mom was from Oaks. Family name is Foreman. So I remember coming up to Oaks and meeting that side of the family and going to the river. And, I was born in Los Angeles. And so up until I was 9, I lived in Los Angeles, a suburb of Los Angeles. So when I moved to Oklahoma, that was a big cultural shock. But then going to the river and Oaks, for a young boy, I fell in love. I mean, I was like, you guys get to do this all the time? Going getting crawdads and fishing and swimming in the river and creeks. And I fell in love with it. And my great grandpa, or my grandpa, was Steve Foreman, was just as around the corner from Oaks School. My half brother, is Bruce Davis from Oaks, superintendent at Oaks. Some of y'all know him. He was at Leach for a while. And so I knew a little bit of Seminole, hardly any Cherokee, until I moved here. And I got an opportunity. I went into Cherokee Nation one day, and I met Faye Beard and a couple of other people, and they told me they didn't have any jobs. And I said, listen, I'm a single dad, 2 girls. I don't care if it's digging ditches. And they put me on a program. And the first week I was there, Jerry Snell was my boss. Excuse me. And he asked me, he said, Brian, do you do archery? I said, I've never done archery. He said, well, you do now. And he asked me, he said, do you know what the cornstalk shoot? I said, no. He said, you're going to learn. And that was my introduction to something that I would fall in love with and still do till this day. And, I was, it was a world that I'd never been around, but I learned to love because some of the elders, some of the people that I worked with, we would stand around in the hallway and just, when we weren't busy, we would talk about families and who are you related to, because I was a new guy. And I was like a sponge, Kara. Some of these things that they would talk about and share. And I wanted to learn so much. I wanted to learn the history. I wanted to learn culture. And so, one thing my dad taught me was you always work hard. Let your work speak for itself. And I worked for Jerry Snell for a while, and then I became the property manager at Job Corps. Learned a lot of Department of Labor, rules, stats, what to do, what not to do. Learned inventory. And so I was brought back to tribal services to help with some audits. Was the first manager at the convenience store in Fort Gibson when it opened. Went back to the nation. I moved around a lot because there was opportunities if you were willing to work and you were willing to do your job. And I became the property manager of health. So we were over all the property of health, which obviously was a big deal. And the whole time I was doing a program that was called I Believe. It was a motivational self-esteem program. I would talk to the kids about some of the mistakes that I made. Then I would finish it off with I would break bricks, bend steel, tear phone books, tear playing cards, and blow up hot water bottles, which would later on become what I was known for as world records. And the former chief, Chad Smith, was at a camp one day, and I had performed for the kids, was signing autographs, and the chief come up to me and he said, "Brian, can I talk to you for a minute?" And I looked at these kids in a line, and I said, "Chief, I'll be glad to talk to you, but I'm not finished yet." And he looked at me and with just respect, it wasn't meant disrespect. He goes, "I understand." And so I finished with the kids and I walked over there and we had a really good talk. And he said, "Brian, we should be doing this through the tribe." And 9 months later, I resigned as the property manager over health. And we started an endeavor with the I Believe program sponsored through the nation that would take me all over the country. During my time as a world record holder, I broke 12 Guinness World Records, represented Cherokee Nations. To me, I represented not only Cherokee Nation, but Native Americans all over the world, in Spain and Italy and Germany and China, on shows like America's Got Talent, Stanley, Superhumans, TV shows all over the world. And I always took a lot of pride in that because I was thinking of the young people that would be watching. And I think that's something that not everybody understands. No matter who you are and what you do, somebody's watching you. Somebody's watching how you live. Somebody's watching how you act. Somebody's watching what you do. And so I always thought of that, not in an arrogant way, but I wanted to be an example to some kids that felt like I'm too small, I'm too short, I'm too slow, I'm nobody from nowhere, I'm never going to amount to anything. And I thought I would be at the nation for a long time, but about 5 years ago, I just seen too much stuff that I couldn't agree with, and I walked away from the nation. And I still do everything that I used to do. A lot of people don't understand because they don't hear about me as much, but I'm still doing cultural events. I'm still doing archery. I'm still doing cornstalk shoots. I'm doing hatchet throwing. I dress traditionally. A couple of years ago, I started getting into deer antlers and making deer antler jewelry and buttons and things like that. And I've always made leather pouches. They're all over the world now, but those have evolved. And I want to say this because it's true. A lot of the things that I have respect for and knowledge of and appreciation for came from the people that I worked with at Cherokee Nation because I didn't have any knowledge before that. And people would just pour into me just like they want to pour into anybody. But I was like a sponge. I just wanted to learn. And I love going into the communities and talking to people and sharing. And so, in a nutshell, I'm known as the I Believe guy. And I still do a lot of speaking. I can't do some of the physical things anymore like I used to because I'm 60 now. But as long as somebody cares to hear my message and have me come speak to the kids or adults wherever, I've spoke at schools, conferences, camps, conventions, wherever that door opens up, I walk through it.
Okay, we're going to go back a little bit.
Yeah.
So this is just such an incredible story. So I'm grinning because I know my Cherokee mama, who was one of your class sponsors, Beverly Cowan,
Oh yeah.
will just love this interview. She will get to hear more about you than she knew even before, and I'm excited about that. There's stuff I learned today. So I think you shared probably your favorite Cherokee moment growing up was being out on the river with your family or the
Oh my.
creeks.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite Cherokee food
Oh my.
or
I can't.
foods?
I love hog fries. I
Okay, very good.
I would drive for a hog fry.
I love this. So
I
what is, because I want them to get to know you before we launch you out there covering our kids' sports and the things you're doing. When you're out and about, because you're going to regularly record for us, and I'm excited about that. But before you start talking about everybody else, I want them to know who you are, Brian.
yeah. Well,
What is your favorite Cherokee sport?
cornstalk shoot.
Very good. Okay. And you said, how long have you been doing archery and cornstalk shoots?
30 years. I've been doing archery for 30 years.
Okay. And you have 8 or 9 world records.
12.
You have 12. How many of them are in the Guinness Book of World Records? I'm an
Well,
80s kid, so that makes sense to me. Guinness Book of World Records.
so all of them were 12 Guinness World Records. Not all of them
Okay.
are in the book because not every record gets in the book, but I've been in about 5 or 6 Guinness books. I'm in Ripley's, believe it or not.
Wow.
I'm in the
Okay.
Ripley's book. I'm one of Stanley's Superhumans, which is Stanley was the creator of Spider-Man, X-Men, and Marvel Comics. And so
Okay.
I'm one of Stanley's Superhumans. In fact, he gave me the nickname the Hurricane. So not only to be on his show, but to have a nickname by Stan Lee and the only Native American to have achieved that is a big honor to me. I finished off my career on Ripley's, believe it or not. They came to Muskogee and filmed me where I had lifted a semi trailer with just my lung strength that weighed 5,486 pounds.
Well, and I know you're probably going to delve into these things as you progress with Cherokee 411, and we do want to hear more about it. So you've got to remember to bring these things up and tell it, and we want to make sure and put together your bio page and those things. But tell us about what you do to make a living and pay the bills now, and how people can get involved with you or hire you.
Okay. So I am a full-time motivational speaker. I get
Okay.
I get paid to speak to schools, churches, camps, conferences, a lot of different places that um, I've been asked to speak at family reunions. I've spoke at birthday parties. So that's about where I make my money. I am a sponsored speaker. I mean, and I have a sponsor that pays me to speak all over the country. I'm a part of a speakers group called USAO out of Fort Smith. And I'm also a part of SCA, a Fellowship of Christian Athletes. So they ask me to do a lot of events as well. And,
Okay.
and so I also, I've learned from a lot of people that I don't need a lot. I'm very simple. When I make $20, it's a big deal to me. And so I've also learned how to do without a lot of the things that I thought I used to need and want and have. And so I feel like I live a very simple life, but it's a happier life than I used to live.
Well, I love that. So what are you going to tell us? What are you going to tell us, or what are our listeners going to expect to hear from you at Cherokee 411? Have you
They,
decided what to cover?
I, I love community events that
Mhm.
where the kids are involved, where the kids are learning. So let me say this: we've heard this for a long time that we're losing our language. But I've learned as I've turned around in life several times as I look back for instance, cornstalk you shoot spikes on the end of your arrows.
Mhm.
People that used to make those tips, almost all of them are gone.
Mm.
A lot of our traditions, a lot of the things that was a part of our heritage that we're also losing. Pete Van made them for a long time. Hastings Shade is gone. Some of the Sewells, some other people that used to do cornstalk shoots and make those tips for those cornstalk arrows are gone. And so last year I realized as I turned around and was looking for some of these cornstalk tips, a lot of those people are gone. And if we
Mm.
continue on that same process, eventually it's going to be something that we see in a museum. So I have made myself learn several things, and I'm in the process now of learning how to make cornstalk tips, not only weld them, but eventually hammer them out like Hastings Shade used to take and hammer out this metal until it was a cornstalk tip. And the other thing that, and it may not seem like a lot to a lot of people, but there were a lot of elders when I first started doing archery that didn't hold their bows up and down. They laid them over. And so that arrow would arch high through the air at the cornstalk rack that was 85 to 100 paces away. Those same archers are no longer here. So about 4 years ago, I told myself, I'm going to lay my bow over. I'm going to shoot those arrows like some of the elders did, even if I don't hit the cornstalk rack, because our kids are never going to see this if somebody doesn't do it. So the reason I point that out is it's not about points, it's not about winning. It's sometimes to me about showing some of our younger generations things that they may not ever see if we don't put ourselves out there to show them.
Well, you're giving me chills. Well, I know you're coming to the Rogers County Cherokee Association at some point here in 2025,
Yes.
and we've got you booked. So there's folks there. But if you want other people to come join you in learning how to do this stuff, I think there's several men in my life that I know that would come help and do stuff. So maybe you can talk about that at some point if you're going to take on any kind of trainees or people that can help you or do stuff. I think they would be very interested in that, Brian. It's up to you. And I know you don't have as much time, maybe, as we would want because you are touring the world and we're glad for that. So now we have an election coming up. Is there anything that you want to share from your heart about why our Cherokee people should go to the polls and vote?
Okay, so one question I'd like you to ask anybody, and I don't care who they are.
Hmm.
This is what I asked a lot of them before you run for election or you've won an election and are going for a re-election. What have you done in the community, and what have you done for the citizens? Because it's easy once you get in office. Obviously, we see a lot of this. Once you're in office, there's money there to go write checks. There's money there to do this and do that. But when you're out there on your own, what have you done for the citizens and what have you done for the community? Share that. Why do you want to run? Do you want to share?
Meaning, what have they done for them from themselves, not a check they wrote from the tribal monies?
Yes. I mean, you give me $20,000 and I can write a lot of $1,000 checks. I
Hmm.
know what you did on your own for the community and for the citizens. Because again, it's easy when you have this pot of money to give money away. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but I'm saying, what else have you done? What are you doing?
Yes,
What are you doing with your time? What are you doing with the citizens? What are you doing with the kids? And one thing I learned a long time ago, when I'm in a group front of a group of kids or anybody, but mostly young people, I don't leave that event until they're finished with me, because they may want to ask a question, they may want to tell you something, they want to maybe share something with you. And so I learned a long time ago that I'm not finished until that group I'm speaking to, that group I'm spending time with, is finished with me. Because bottom line is that is why you're there. Not to write a check,
yeah,
not to take a picture, not to, hey, look what I did. You're there for them. And so on the election, I really ask you to look at somebody that is doing things because their heart's there. They're interested in their culture. They're interested in their tribe, not for the money, not for the fame, nothing other than being there for our citizens. I'm just going to say this, Kara. I really feel like the money that the tribe has got has really hurt our tribe. It feels like we did so much more
I
for
understand what you're saying.
I feel
Hmm.
we did so much more for our citizens when we had less. Because one thing I'm proud of, and I have to say this in the past, and it's all comes from things I've learned from elders. We didn't have a status area. There wasn't somebody better than the other, wasn't somebody better off than the other. If I didn't have it and you had it, you gave it to me. If I had it and you didn't have it, I gave it to you. And that's what I miss, is there was no status level. Nobody that was more important, nobody that was better off. We all was on an equal level. And if we would treat each other like that, let me put it like this. I've made balloon animals my whole career. And my grandson is learning how to make balloon animals. And sometimes he makes good money. And sometimes I tell him we're volunteering today. And he's not always happy about that. But I told him, I said, Caden, let me share something with you. I'm a firm believer, and part of the reason I've had success is because I volunteer a lot. A lot. You know what I'm talking about. But here's how I feel about that. When you can change somebody's day in 3 to 5 seconds, make them smile, make them forget about what crappy day they had. Maybe they had an argument with their husband or wife, or something went wrong at work or school, and you make somebody a balloon animal and makes them smile. That's 3 to 5 seconds that you help them forget about that crappy situation that went on. And if we would just take 3 to 5 seconds with people that we meet, that could change our community. That could change our world. We don't have to do anything that's huge. Sometimes it's just 3 to 5 seconds. How are you? You look good. Good to see you. Some small gesture could really change our surrounding areas.
I agree. Amen. Brian,
Mm.
one last question before we wrap it up. Why is it important for individual Cherokees to register to vote and make sure that they vote each and every election and make sure their votes counted?
It's important because this is our tribe. And sometimes our tribe is not our tribe because it's being taken over by voices sometimes we don't know. And we always hear, well, what's one vote going to count? It's going to count. But you have to
We've
vote.
seen it, haven't we, Brian?
Oh my gosh.
Hmm.
I ran for council, and they tried to tell me I got a small amount of votes, and I wasn't going to argue with them because I know how things work. But I told them, I said, I've had people in the community say, Brian, our whole family voted for you. And I said, I know, but I'm not going to let them control it. We have to keep voting, because if we want things to change, we didn't get here overnight. We didn't get in this situation overnight, and it's not going to be overnight to take it back. But this is our tribe. This is our community. This is our people. And I've met so many elders that have said, those buildings must be really nice, but I'm never going to see the inside of that building. We have spent so much money on things that should not matter, when we still have people that live without hot water, leaky roofs, no gas, rundown homes. We should not boast about how big a tribe we are until we no longer have citizens that live in third world country conditions.
Amen. High five. Absolutely agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Well put, Brian Jackson. Well put. Well, thank you for being on today. This is your introduction to our readers and our viewers of Cherokee 411. And you're going to be an independent correspondent that get to go out and talk about our kids, our youth, and our families, and showcase the stuff you're already doing out in the community. And I am very excited to catch up with you every week and see what you're up to. So
Oh,
tell the family I said hi,
I
and
will.
I will let mom know when your episode comes out so she can watch it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell her I said hi.
Very good. Well, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks again for being with us at Kara Cowan Watts with Kara Cowan Watts at Cherokee 411. What Brian?
Join the conversation. Discover stories and insights that matter to you. Subscribe to Cherokee 411 with Kara and stay connected with independent media, real, relevant, and unfiltered.